Welcome to episode 3 of A Toast with Our Hosts, where we will be interviewing hosts who have retreat listings on the Retreat Bee platform. So, this is really just to share more about their journey and their upcoming experiences. And today we have Dom, who is hosting the Winter Reboot Retreat in Normandy, France this November. Dom is a wellness educator and experience curator, certified health coach, and yoga instructor. Dom, it's been so great getting to know you just over the last few months through social media. So I'm so excited to have you here. And yeah, just tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you even get to this point of hosting retreats?
Wow. Let's see. Well, it's such an honor to meet you too after all this time knowing each other online. Let's see if I can do a short version of how I got here. I think basically what Well in France is, which is my company, is really the way that I've found to combine three of my greatest passions. One being French lifestyle and culture. I've been in France for 7 years now, originally from California. So I've really come to know and embrace everything that makes life in France really unique and I feel really conducive to well-being. The second thing is experiences and in-person community that I have always been super passionate about. I'm a huge believer in and has always been part of my career up until this point. And then the third piece, which is really the one I'm most excited about finally getting to embrace as my full-time focus, is wellness. And as you know, that's a really big, broad word, but there's so much that falls under that umbrella. So just combining, French culture, in-person experiences, and well-being all under the Well in France brand is what I do. And it's been my dream for a while, and it's finally come to life this past year.
It's incredible. And when you think about like your retreats, kind of what is your process for being inspired or making your decisions around what does it look like and how does it come together?
Oh my gosh, my retreat process is it's so unorthodox.
I
I
love
mean, I
that.
come from a marketing background and where everything is like you make a plan, you set goals, like you're very clear on like what the purpose of this thing is and who your target audience is and what you're going to achieve. And honestly, what's so liberating about being an entrepreneur is you can just throw all of those rules out and just like trust your gut instead. And so I'd say my retreat planning process is very intuitive. I kind of just think about what is the type of experience I'm really craving right now? What feels like the thing I need as like a busy working mom who lives in the city and is like juggling all the things, but still really wants to keep wellness a priority. So like what's that immersive experience that's going to help me kind of come back to center and feel like fully nourished and really like I am putting myself first, because we have to do that to really give ourselves to anything else. So, yeah, all the retreats I've planned have kind of just been like solving my own problem first. Like,
That.
what is the solution I'm seeking? And then I just trust that there's others that are needing that too. And the Winter Reboot retreat is a great example of that because being from California, I think I'm someone who really struggles with like real winter,
Yeah.
which is what we have in Europe. It's like really cold and really dark and really long. And so the winter reboot for me was like, okay, we're not going to fight winter. We're going to embrace it and all that it represents, which is like going inward, really like being cozy, slowing down, like comfort foods and comfort activities. And how can we build an experience around that that really lets people indulge in all these winter wellness activities for a couple of days? So that's how the winter reboot came together. Is I kind of just dreamed up all the things that I'm really craving right now in winter, and putting that all together in like a nice all-inclusive package. Because that's what I think is great about retreats is like you get to show up, and you don't even have to think about anything. It's all there for you. It's all planned. It's like your perfect day for a few days straight, and you just get to like show up and indulge in it. And so that's really what I try and offer people is like all you got to do is show up and enjoy.
I love that. And I think that energy on a retreat is so beautiful because it is just kind of like show up and like we hear that so often in like a yoga class, right? It's like, oh, you made it to your mat. That's like you showed up. And it's like retreats are like an extension of that in the same sense of like you don't have to think of anything. You don't have to, like, you will know where to be and when. You will know when you have free time to explore, integrate. You will know when there's like community time for workshops or classes or whatever it is. You don't have to think about the menu. Like, it's all curated for you, which I think is just so special. And I also love what you said about creating from a place of like, what are you craving and looking for? Because I think that is such a guide. And like, we're not alone in what we like crave, especially as like women who are busy and oftentimes thinking and making moves for other people before ourselves, because that's what life calls for in certain seasons, or that's what we feel it calls for. So I love that. And I feel like that's an amazing guiding light to keep kind of intuitively front and center.
Thank you. Well, it's been working so far.
I love that. I love that. And this, the winter reboot retreat, like, tell us a little bit more. Like, what can people expect on this retreat? What is like the day to day like look and feel like?
Yeah, well, this retreat is a little different than ones I've hosted in the past in the sense that it's a little shorter. So it's a weekend retreat, arriving on
Amazing.
Friday, leaving on Sunday, because I felt that I had so many women who have wanted to come to my retreats in the past, but it's just too hard to get away for an extended period of time. So I was like, great, no excuse, Friday through Sunday. Don't have to take any time off work. And it's really close to Paris too. So for my kind of Paris-based community, it's also just an easy trip outside the city, about an hour and a half. So I was really trying to make it more accessible in that sense. And the sort of wellness programming for this retreat is slightly different from my spring and summer retreats, which are really about like being outside and really expanding and exploring and that sort of extroverted energy. And the winter reboot is really, I mean, we're in community. So, of course, you will be connecting with others, but in a more, I guess, like slower paced, inside, inward looking energy. So, we're all kind of like reflecting together. So, the activities are going to be mostly focused around yin yoga, which is like a really
Love.
profound
Yeah.
practice that like helps you go deeper inward and reflect. Sound healing, which is just one of my favorites. I think it's like such a cherry on top of any wellness experience. So I have a yoga teacher that I partner with who does both yin and sound healing and massage. So those three
Incredible.
things are going to be kind of the core elements of the wellness program of the weekend. And then something I'm really excited to add to this retreat is what I'm calling the Life on Purpose workshop, which is kind of a nod to end of year reflection, New Year's planning. And it's going to be guided by me because I have done a ton of self reflection over the years. And I kind of created a system and approach that really like works and helps me get clarity on my purpose, vision, and actions that I want to take. So I feel like late November is kind of the perfect time to get a head start on that end of year, New Year's reflection. So we'll have the Life on Purpose workshop, and then the location where we're staying is like a beautiful converted farmhouse. It has like an outdoor forest nearby that we can do walks in and have fires and drink cozy beverages. So also amazing food, of course, because we're in France. We have to have delicious food too. So that's about everything that's happening at the winter reboot.
That's incredible. No, the pictures look truly like Pinterest. Like, I'm like, I want my home to look like that. It's beautiful. So I think that like is so fitting too for even what you're describing, and the life on purpose. I think that sounds like such a moment of integration too, and like really something that will stick with all of the women who attend after the fact too. And it really is such a great time to do that. And there's something so special, I think, about doing those forward looking practices or workshops in community that is so supporting, uplifting, just expansive. There's a special energy with that that just kind of allows you to really go there and think about, what do you want to experience? What do you want your life to feel like? So I'm excited to hear how that goes.
Yeah, well, I've found that with these reflection activities, I've done so much of it on my own, and sometimes I need that nudge to like actually do the work. Like, it's
Yeah.
one thing to listen to a podcast or read a book and be like, yeah, I should figure out my core values, but to actually sit down and have it written out, have it on paper, and to kind of take that time to really do the work, because it is so much more powerful, I think,
Yeah.
when you can see it and you can remind
Yeah.
yourself of it.
It's so true. And this is like a great reminder. I'm like, okay, I need to attend something like this. I think it's an awesome
Yes.
reminder. And on this retreat too, what is like the ratio between community time and like alone time too? What does that look like for someone attending?
Yeah, I've thought about this a lot over the years because I do want there to be sort of a buffet of things for people to choose
Yeah.
from so that whatever their kind of mood is in that moment, they have something they can do or something, nothing is required. Nothing is, like mandatory. So I would say the main community elements are the morning and evening yoga and sound bath and the meals. The meals are always, I think, like the most fun community time. It's very unplanned connection, but I like to have little like conversation starters, and sometimes we have little like question cards that kick things off during the meals that start nice conversations. But aside from that, there's a lot of built-in free time. I would say like the afternoons have a good chunk of free time because that's when I feel it's a moment for people to integrate, maybe take something they discovered or came up against in the yoga class and they want to spend some more time on, maybe journaling or go for a walk in the forest or just take a hot tub and like just turn their brain
Oh,
off.
nice.
That's great too. So I would say it's like 50-50 planned activities and free time. And that seems to be a good balance for people.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. And I'm still so inspired by like even just you taking in like, okay, there's people that want to come on my retreats. I do longer ones. How can I meet people where they are? And having a weekend retreat, that sounds awesome too. So it's like you don't even need to take time off to come, which is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. And when you think about what you want your retreaters to be feeling or experiencing or embodying by the end of their weekend with you, like how would you want them to be feeling on their way back to Paris or back to wherever they're going home to?
Yeah. For me, the theme of this one that I really wanted to optimize for was clarity. Because I think that whenever I start to personally lose a sense of clarity or direction, and I find myself kind of showing up to life just kind of going through the motions or following a to-do list and not really like having a deep sense of like, I know why I'm doing all of this, it's just like I really don't like this feeling. So I think I'm always trying to bring myself back to a sense of clarity and purpose. And that always feels so good for me. I recently did this, like just went away into a cabin in the woods for a couple days and like hashed it all out. I'm like, okay, what am I doing? What do I care about? Where's my energy going? Where do I want it to be going? And it felt so good. And that it just reminded me of how powerful these exercises are for people to actually sit down and do, not just like spend 5 minutes thinking about, but really like sit down the same way that we put so much energy into like creating a mission, vision, values for
Yeah,
businesses. It's like, why don't we sit down and do that for our own precious lives, you know?
I
So
love that.
yeah, I'm very
I think that's
passionate about it. So
incredible.
clarity, I would say clarity and groundedness and just a sense of feeling prepared because heading into the holidays, it's like such a swirl of busyness. And I think it's hard for people. Maybe sometimes they're spending time with uh, people that are challenging characters
Yeah.
for them, friends, family, whatever. And it's just nice to get ahead of that New Year's planning that I think a lot of people wait to do till December 31st of like, oh
Yeah.
shoot, I should set some goals. But just having a little head start on that and heading into the holidays like super clear. This is who I am becoming. This is where I want my energy to go to. This is why it matters to me. All of that just feels so good.
I love that. And it's interesting because over the last few years, I've really started to do this planning, like you're saying, a little bit earlier than December 31st to be like, what do I want the next year to be like? And I think that's been such a huge unlock too, because you grant yourself that time and spaciousness to really be intentional with it. And that's when you really stick with it too, because it's thoughtful. It's not just, oh, well, let me think of something to start the year with. It's like, no, realistically, what do you want this next chapter of you to look like? Who do you want to become? How do you want your life to evolve? What do you want to experience? So I think that's amazing timing to have this retreat.
Thank you. I hope so.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, where can everybody find you? I'll be sure to link your accounts, but want to give you the floor too.
Yeah, well in France, everywhere. I mean, mostly Instagram, and the website has all the information about our retreats and events in Paris. A little bit on LinkedIn too. I feel like LinkedIn needs more wellness content, so I'm trying
Yeah.
to bring more of that there as well. But yeah, wellinfrance.com or wellinfrance on Instagram.